Have you ever heard of Crooked Grove? That abandoned psychiatric hospital no one dares to enter? We were fools to think it was just a scary story. We went there to film a regular paranormal stream. Cameras, EMF meters, live chat. Everything was going according to plan until the nightmare began. If you love creepy stories, mysterious secrets, and real horror, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. More chilling tales are coming soon. Now, turn off the lights and get ready. We're starting. Oh, where's that time? When we were young, full of enthusiasm, when the world seemed like an open book, full of adventures and opportunities. We were streamers. Yes, now it sounds like something from a past life, as if it didn't happen to me, but to someone else. But that's how it was. We made videos for YouTube, mostly about paranormal phenomena. And at first it was fun. We explored abandoned houses, deserted factories, told scary stories, scared each other, tried to find at least something unusual, something that could hook viewers and bring us fame. Our team was small but close-knit. There was Max, our unofficial leader, the idea generator, and the eternal driving force. He was obsessed with everything mystical and paranormal. He believed in anything that even slightly went beyond the ordinary. Then there was Lisa. Lisa was a skeptic to the core. She always tried to explain everything scientifically, rationally, from the perspective of physics and chemistry. But even she, I think, deep down, believed in something greater. She was our tech expert. Without her, no camera would work, no microphone would turn on. And there was Alex. Poor Alex. He was the quietest among us. A newcomer. He just followed us, filming everything with the camera. I think he was a little scared, but he tried not to show it. And then one fine day, or rather, one gloomy day, Max got obsessed with the idea of visiting the Crooked Grove. He read about it in some old blog on the internet. Crooked Grove was an abandoned psychiatric hospital. It was located somewhere in the wilderness, far from the city. They said that terrible experiments were conducted on the patients there, that they were tortured, crippled, broken, and that the souls of these unfortunate people still roamed the hospital's corridors, seeking peace and revenge. Crooked Grove. The name itself already sounded ominous, didn't it? I remember how we drove there, along that narrow, winding road through the forest. It was dark, foggy, and it felt like the trees were watching us as if they were alive. Even then, at that moment, I had a bad feeling. But we were young and foolish. We didn't pay attention to things like that. We thought we were the smartest, the bravest, that we could handle anything. Of course, we had heard the warnings from the locals. They said it was better not to go to Crooked Grove, that the place was cursed, that people disappeared there. Those typical village superstitions. Naturally, we laughed at them. We thought it was just stories to scare tourists. Now I realize that we should have listened to those old people. They knew. They felt the evil that lurked in Crooked Grove, but we were too arrogant, too hungry for fame. And that was our downfall. We were preparing for this stream as if we were launching a spaceship. Seriously, Max scoured the entire internet, searching for any information about the Crooked Grove. He read old newspaper articles, forums, blogs. He even found some old building maps and floor plans. He was obsessed with this place. He was convinced that something incredible awaited us there, something that would change our understanding of the paranormal. Lisa, as always, was grumbling. She didn't like this idea. She kept saying it was too dangerous, that we could get into trouble, that we might get arrested for trespassing on private property. But deep down, I think she was intrigued too. She had always wanted to test her knowledge in practice, to prove that science could explain everything. We bought all the necessary equipment, new night vision cameras, powerful flashlights, microphones capable of picking up the faintest sounds, EMF meters, thermal cameras, a whole arsenal for ghost hunting. We even bought some amulets and charms, just in case, though we laughed about it. Max insisted. You never know what might come in handy, he said. I remember how we set up the cameras, how Lisa fussed with the wires, how Alex checked the battery charges. Everyone was focused, excited. The tension in the air was palpable. We planned the stream very carefully, outlining every step, every corner we were going to explore. We decided to start with the old operating room, then go down to the basement, where, according to rumors, the most terrifying experiments had taken place. Max wanted to find something that would prove that something truly horrific had happened in the Crooked Grove. And then, on the day of the stream, something felt off. I remember waking up with a strange sense of unease. My heart was pounding, my palms were sweaty. I had this feeling that something bad was going to happen. I tried to shake it off, convince myself it was just nerves before the stream. But the feeling stayed with me all day. We met at Max's place, loaded all the equipment into the car, and set off. The road felt endless. The sun was already setting when we arrived at the Crooked Grove. And the moment I saw it, a chill ran down my spine. It looked eerie grim, as if a cursed shadow had fallen over it. But we couldn't turn back. We had prepared for this stream for too long. We had too much at stake. We had to go through with it. Now I realized that something truly horrifying awaited us that night. But back then, we were too blinded by the desire for fame, too caught up in our insane plan. We didn't see the danger, and it cost us dearly. As we pulled up to the Crooked Grove, a chill ran down my spine. I don't know how to describe it. It wasn't ordinary fear. It was something deeper, something more primal. As if the place itself radiated a kind of malevolent energy, a hatred that seeped into my soul. It looked like it had crawled out of a nightmare, abandoned, half-ruined, with shattered windows that resembled empty eye sockets, staring at us in silent reproach. A thick fog blanketed everything around us, making it look even more sinister. We stepped out of the car, gathered our equipment, and approached the gate. It was locked, but old and rusted. Max easily pushed it open, as if inviting us into this world of horror. At that moment, I felt as if we had crossed an invisible line, a point of no return. We stepped onto the hospital grounds. The silence was deafening. No birds, no rustling leaves, nothing. Only the quiet crunch of gravel under our footsteps. The cold cut through our clothes, reaching deep into our bones. I felt something watching me. Invisible eyes, following our every move. We turned on the cameras and started the stream. We tried to joke, to ease the tension, but the laughter felt forced, unnatural. Then, we entered the main building. Inside, it was even worse than outside. Darkness, the stench of mold and dampness, crumbling plaster, cracked walls. It felt like time had stopped here, like the hospital was trapped in some nightmarish past. We began exploring the rooms. Everywhere, there were signs of decay and abandonment, rusty beds, torn mattresses, scraps of clothing. I imagined the patients who had once lived here, their suffering, their deaths. A deep unease settled in my chest. We walked down a long corridor when, suddenly, we heard something. A whisper. A soft, eerie murmur. I stopped and listened. The whisper grew louder, forming words I couldn't quite understand. And then, I swore I heard my name. Lisa, as always, tried to rationalize it. She said it was the wind, an acoustic illusion, just our imagination playing tricks on us. But even she was uneasy. I could see it in her eyes. She wasn't as confident in her scientific explanations as before. Then we saw it. A shadow, flickering at the end of the corridor before vanishing. Alex, who was walking ahead, let out a startled gasp. I turned to look, but there was nothing. Only darkness. The EMF meter went wild. The needle spiked erratically, flashing like crazy. Lisa stared at the device in confusion. "Something's not right here," she muttered. At that moment, I had no idea that we weren't just dealing with ghosts. We had encountered something far more sinister. A dark force that lurked within the Crooked Grove, waiting for us, hungry to consume our souls. We had taken our first step into the abyss, and there was no turning back. After the shadow and the wildly flashing EMF meter, the atmosphere in the hospital became unbearable. We kept moving forward, as if hypnotized, deeper into this nightmare, even though every cell in my body was screaming at me to run away without looking back. And then it happened. Alex, he just disappeared. We were in an old operating room, filming the blood-stained instruments and eerie photographs when we suddenly realized that Alex was no longer with us. We called out to him, shouted his name, but there was no answer. There was only silence, cold and merciless. Max panicked. He started running around the room, yelling for Alex as if he were playing some kind of cruel joke on us. Lisa tried to calm him down, saying that maybe Alex had just stepped out for a moment. But I knew that wasn't true. I felt that something had happened to him. We started searching for him. We split up to cover more ground. I walked down the corridor, calling his name, but there was only silence in return. Then, suddenly, I heard quiet sobbing. It was coming from one of the rooms. I approached the door and peeked inside. The room was dark, but I saw her. A little girl sat on the floor in the corner, crying. She was wearing a straitjacket, and she looked at me with empty, lifeless eyes. She sobbed and whispered something, but I couldn't make out the words. I was terrified. I froze in place, unable to move. I wanted to scream, but my voice was gone. Suddenly, the girl lifted her head and looked straight at me. Her face was twisted with pain and suffering. She reached out a hand, as if begging for help. I stumbled back from the door and ran. I ran without looking back until I almost crashed into Lisa. She was frightened too. She said she had heard strange noises, seen a shadow moving in the darkness. We decided to return to the operating room and tell Max what we had seen. But when we entered the room, Max was gone. A chill ran down my spine. Something was wrong. Max would never leave without telling us. Something had happened. We started calling for him, but there was no response. Then we heard a noise. It was coming from the basement. We cautiously made our way down. There was a room, an abandoned room, filled with old dolls. They stared at us with empty eyes, watching our every move. Many of them had their eyes gouged out. They hung from strings attached to the ceiling, swaying gently back and forth. And then I saw him. Max was standing in the corner of the room, staring at the dolls. His face was twisted, his eyes burning with madness. He was muttering something under his breath. I can't even describe how much he had changed. He looked like someone else, something else. Malicious, possessed. At that moment, I realized that we had walked straight into a trap, into a world of darkness and insanity from which there was no escape. Crooked Grove was devouring us. I remember only screams, blood, and endless fear. Lisa tried to approach Max, to talk to him, but he was already lost. He lunged at her like a beast, letting out a wild scream. He grabbed one of the dolls from the shelf, smashed it against the wall, and began attacking Lisa with the shards. I screamed and tried to stop him, but he shoved me with such force that I fell to the floor. He was too strong, too insane. I saw Lisa collapse, her blood spreading across her face. I knew she was dead, and then I saw Alex. He stood in the doorway, watching us. There was no fear on his face, no compassion. Only an empty, lifeless smile. His eyes were black, bottomless, like portals to hell. He was broken, empty, dead inside. Crooked Grove had taken his soul, turned him into a puppet. Max turned to me. His face was covered in blood, his eyes burning with hatred. He raised a shard of the doll above his head and came toward me. I screamed and tried to run, but he was too close. He grabbed my arm and dragged me toward him. I struggled with everything I had, but he was stronger. He threw me to the ground and loomed over me. I shut my eyes, waiting for the final blow. But it never came. I opened my eyes and saw Max standing over Lisa muttering something. And next to me stood Alex, his eyes as black as the night. He smiled at me, but it wasn't his smile. It was something foreign, something unnatural. That was the moment I realized it was over. We were gone. Crooked Grove had devoured us. All of us. Max had become its servant, and Alex, like a shadow, followed him. And they wanted me to join them. And then I woke up, covered in cold sweat, in my own bed. I jumped up and ran to the window. Outside, everything was dark and silent. I looked at the clock. 3 a.m. It was just a dream, I told myself. Just a nightmare. But it felt so real, so alive, as if I had truly been there. As if I had truly seen Crooked Grove. I never filmed paranormal investigation streams again. I never went to abandoned places again. I am afraid that one day I will find myself back in Crooked Grove. Afraid that Max and Alex are still there waiting for me. If you ever hear about Crooked Grove, run. Don't go there. Never go to Crooked Grove. That place is cursed. And it will take you. It will take you for sure. And now forgive me. I have to go. I think I hear whispering. We should never have gone there. We should never have disturbed what was hidden in Crooked Grove. Now, I don't know if it was real or just a nightmare, but one thing is certain: some places are better left alone. If you enjoyed this story and want more terrifying tales, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and comment below. Would you dare to go to a place like this? Stay safe. Don't mess with what you don't understand. And remember, never go to Crooked Grove.